hear from him a little bit.
We're recording now.
All right. So let's get started. Is there anything that we can pray for you guys specifically? Request?
Tomorrow, Mom's last chemo treatment.
Huh?
Tomorrow's my mom's treatment.
Oh.
Pray.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, pray for Rachel. Just in general.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. Is that a reference to the
I'm probably getting a little bit
conversation?
I don't know why, but no need to repeat it yet.
Just this guy.
Oh.
She was that wonderful tiny monster.
I can't hear. Rachel's frozen for me.
Oh, really?
No, there you are. I can hear you. Right, there you are. All right, cool. I don't know if for you guys that know Gary Black, there's the media attention around Louisa's school. They all drove by his house and give him cards and stuff like that. It was on the news, but so he's fighting cancer, pancreatic cancer, but they said they got his first test results back and it's shrinking, so it's actually going in the right direction.
Great.
So they found that out this morning. That's really good news. We'll continue to pray for him. All righty. I'll pray and we'll get started. Dear Heavenly Father, God, you're an awesome God. We thank you for who you are and just being an all-loving, all-powerful, all-knowing God. And we just thank you for another day that we can come together and meet virtually. And even though we're apart, God, we are together, God. And we do lift up these prayer requests for Rachel's mom as she's going to to another treatment tomorrow. I pray that you just give her a good night of rest tonight and strength so that she can wake up and go into that treatment tomorrow. And I pray that you give Rachel the same thing, God, as she's helping her mom through this, and just give her an extra dose of energy and patience and time. And God, let it just be a good time for them as they're together. God, just to grow closer and show love for each other. And we do praise you for Gary and the good results and the tumor shrinking. God, we ask that you continue to heal him, give him strength and just positive spirits, and pray that you send your spirit to him, that he just continues to have a great attitude about it, but continues to build his faith and trust in you through these challenging times, God. And we do lift up any unspoken needs that anybody might have right now, God. If somebody's going through something physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever, pray that you meet that need because you know what it is, God. And we pray that you meet it and you just shower your love on each person that's here, and let that be evident and be known to them that you are there, that you're present in their life. And we pray for this meeting. Let it be productive, God. We pray for our group through this pandemic, God, but just in general, that we would be known as a group that is united, and we share a common bond of love for each other, love for people. And God, we pray that is evident to the world. And thank you for that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. So, a couple things. I was gonna do this. Almost forgot. All right, got a quick verse for you guys. Quick verse. All right, this is Isaiah 40, verse 29. It says this: He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases their strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. I I think that this verse is a good encouragement and a reminder that though you may be going through something in your life, it doesn't mean that God is not there. And really, Scripture so many times challenges the way that we think and basically gives us the opposite of how we are taught to think, right? So, it talks about how he uses simple things of the world to confound the wise. And in this scripture, he's talking about, those who are weary, he's going to give them strength, right? Those who are not strong, he's going to strengthen them. You're going to mount up on wings like eagles. So it's challenging the opposite thinking. So as you're going through something, as you're going through a challenge, as you're going through a struggle in your life, whether it's personal, business, whatever it might be, just know that this promise is from God, that he's still there. He still knows what you're going through. And actually, he's going to take that and turn it around. See, I think God likes to do things to show himself off sometimes. And he's not going, it's not saying he's going to the people of the world who appear to be strong and appear to be mighty and then gives them extra strength. No, he's going to the people who seem like they're at the bottom, seem like they have no more energy, seem like they're exhausted. He says, I'm going to lift you up and mount you on wings like eagles. It's like the song, did you ever know that you're my hero? You know that song?
Yes.
I can fly higher than an eagle. I
That
guess
is
I got
not
it
the
from
one
this
that came to
Bible
my
verse.
mind.
So, but it was
If you're a Catholic, you would understand that's a Catholic song, buddy.
Catholic. That is not a Catholic song.
It
Did they
is.
sing it at Catholic church?
Yes, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings.
Oh, that's
that
a
one.
different song. That's a different song.
Same meaning.
Same meaning.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is that, it's an interesting imagery. Eagles, eagles are one of the biggest, strongest birds. They fly really high and they're bold and majestic. And the image with the eagle is the opposite of somebody who's lowly and weary and down and depressed. And but God's going to lift you up like wings of eagles. He's going to give power to the people who are faint. To him who has no might, he increases their strength. So what a good promise. So just hold on to that promise today, that if you are going through a challenge in your life, God is right there. And he's ready to lift you up, and he's going to lift you up. That's a promise from his word. So that's what I got for you guys there. A couple notes. Oh man. Oh shoot. Oh, here it is. All right. So when you guys that are doing the leads on lead agent of the day, we're getting way better at this. I'll just say, so the last time I looked at it, I'll back up. When we first started this 3 weeks ago, the first full week, we were in the 22nd percentile of Boomtown, all Boomtown users. So, literally, I think there's thousands and thousands of Boomtown users and probably more than 1,000 companies. So we were in the bottom 22nd percentile. Last time I looked at it, we were in the 65th percentile, which is awesome. Huge improvement. You guys are doing really well, keeping up with all that stuff. It's really exciting and encouraging. And I know that it's sometimes hard to grind it out with that stuff, with the simple little metrics like the putting everybody on drips and calling every person, all this stuff, but it pays off, guys. That stuff pays off. It turns into business 3 to 6 months from now. But I just wanted to make a quick note about the Realtor.com leads, just so everybody knows. I think I've said it to everybody, but it's possible I haven't. So I want to just explain it. So what happens with Realtor.com is different than all of our other leads. So our other leads, they come to us exclusively. Now, that doesn't mean that when Bob Smith comes in on your Boomtown, there's not 7 other realtors that have the same Bob Smith on their Boomtown too. So you have to be proactive, reaching out. He's not just going to sit there and wait for you. He's going to probably talk to the first person that really makes a connection with them. But with Realtor.com, what happens is, they're one of the more expensive leads. They come in, people are like, I want info on this property, or I want to see this property. So we pay 10 to 15 times more for those than, just opt-in leads. But what they do is they send it to 2 agents. So we're one agent, our company is an agent, and they send it to, Mission Realty, or who knows, whatever it is, another person that's paying for it. And usually it's the first person that makes contact wins on those. So recently we had one that it came in, we called them, and they said, oh no, I forget the name they said, but let's say they just said, I'm already working with Lisa's already helping me. And I think our agent was like, well, I don't know who Lisa is. They're not on our team. They're like, well, Lisa's got me. She's taking care of me. What happened was Lisa called that person, made the connection, and whether they set up a showing, answer the questions, or whatever. So our return, on investment, our return on, our response rate is going to be much, much higher the faster we do it. So I was actually just looking at our numbers. Sometimes these things come in at like 1 or 2 a.m. Emily and I were talking about this other day. Of course, there's no way anybody can get those quickly, and you should sleep, and you need to turn your phone off. So, but what I did was I went back to the last 10 of them that came in that were not during those odd times, so during normal times. And our average response was 37 minutes, which is okay. I mean, I'm looking at some of them were 2 hours, some of them were 2 minutes, 20 minutes, 60 minutes, 30 minutes, but the average was about 37 minutes. In order for us to increase our conversion rate for you guys to get more of those deals, we got to call them within 30 to 60 seconds. Because what's happening is that other agents calling them, and sometimes when you call them, they might not answer. So that's why you got to boom, boom, hit them again. They might be on the phone with that other agent, and you want to interrupt them and get them off. That can happen, and that works. Or they just might not answer because they're getting calls from you and that other person, like, what's going on? I'm not going to answer my phone right now. And then, of course, you try to text them. But usually it's something like 80% of the time, 80 plus, that the first person to connect with the lead online is the one to get it. So we want to get the 37 minutes down to like 30 seconds. And so, that's the key when we're on agent of the day. Any of the leads that come in, speed to lead is vitally important, but the Realtor.com leads are extra important because they're having multiple people calling them. And once the other person calls, we've lost it, we've pretty much lost it. So the other ones, while, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's okay. But 5 minutes on Realtor.com, we most likely won't be converting what we need to convert on those. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Just a quick note on our contracts. A few of these have I've seen these come in lately, and on our contracts when it's talking about septic systems, so it has the first checkbox is a visual inspection of the drain field, and then a pump contents of the tank, and visual inspection of the box, all the boxes and tanks. Okay, so that second line is all together. What a lot of people focus on is like the pumping of the content. So a lot of times this happens. This happens very commonly. So the seller has already pumped it, or they pumped it a year ago, and they're like, I'm just going to give you a receipt. We've got a listing where this happened. The seller pumped it, and we responded to the agent and said, hey, we've got a pumping receipt from a year ago. Will you take this to suffice that second line that you checked? And they said yes, which it's not necessarily good for the buyer. It was fine for our seller, but it's not good for the buyer. The reason is the added language that they have in there that says visual inspection of the tanks and the distribution boxes. That is the most important thing of a septic inspection. And I'll tell you why. Okay, great example. So Ben just had a listing on Bourne Road, and we first sent a septic inspector out there. We had 2 deals on it, so it might have happened. The first deal that we had, it fell through, and the septic inspector went out, and the box was checked for the rod probing in the drain field, right? So that's the top box. Everybody following along with me? You know what I'm talking about, like the first check box? So basically what they do is they take a rod and they go out to the drain field where all the water flows, and they just poke it down the ground. And if it goes really far down, that means it's not draining very well, right? But if it's good and solid, it means that it's holding water. Okay, that's the idea. So it passed. It passed that inspection. Okay. Then that deal fell through. Another contract came in, and it had the checkbox of pumping and visual inspection of the tanks, and it failed that one. And then you remember what the first quote was? It was five figures, right? It was 5 figures to fix it. So basically, that visual inspection of the drain field would have missed a $10,000 to $15,000 defect. Does that make sense, everybody? So it's like, if you're representing a buyer, always, it's vitally important to check that. Even if the pumping is a side thing, because the pumping, yeah, let's say the sellers pumped it 6 months ago and they give you a receipt, that's fine. You can waive the pumping part of it, but do not ever waive the other part. I've had so many of them. We had one last year, one of our listings that failed. Actually, we had several that failed once they opened up the tank. One time there was a cracked distribution box, $6,000. They never would have seen that if they didn't check that box to visually inspect the tanks and all that stuff. One time we had, so we had a septic system fail, and the drain field appeared to be fine, and they opened up the tank, but the tank was completely full, right? And they would not have seen that if that box wasn't checked and the tank wasn't inspected. So the tank was completely full. So what happened was they said the drain field was actually failing because the water was flowing back into the tank. They would never have been able to see that unless they opened up those tanks. So it takes a little bit of work. It takes some excavation. Sometimes they can do it with hand shovels. Sometimes they have to get a tractor out there. But I'm telling you guys, you do not want to have a client call you a year after you helped them buy a house, 6 months after you helped them buy a house. They get their septic tank inspected, and it's $10,000 to $15,000 of repair, and they say, "Why didn't you get? I thought we had an inspection done." Well, we did, but we didn't ask them to check that part of it. It's so important. Does that make sense?
I have a question. Yes.
Yeah.
So like for my house, like I found when I moved in, I reached out to the county to find out where my septic tank was or wherever this thing was. Because I live in the woods. It's literally underneath a bunch of brush. But like, if you're representing a seller, should I just ask them to reach out to the county? Like, what if they don't know where it is? Or will a septic inspector know how to, like Dallas, will he just know where to go?
Yeah, they usually have a pretty good idea of how to find them.
Okay.
But oftentimes they will, if they can't find it, and Dallas has had trouble finding it, Mert, if they can't find it, they'll call you and say, "Hey, do you know where it is?" And if it takes them a long time to find it, they'll charge you extra for it. So if you know where it is, tell them.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely tell them.
I was just curious because I'm like, I had no idea where mine was until I asked the county where, like, I got it drawn. Like, when they first put it in, they sent me that paper from like 1991.
Yeah.
But like,
so
I was just curious
where your house is.
and it's like lime,
Yeah.
septic. But I was wondering if I represent a seller, like, what if they don't know? So it just is smart to go ahead and get that beforehand, is what you're saying.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, cool.
I have
Exactly.
a question.
Yes.
Does the seller or buyer pay for that?
On the
If you check it on the
contract,
contract.
if you don't change anything, it's the seller.
Okay.
But if it's as is, I just talked to Katarina about this morning.
Correct.
If it's as is, then the buyer pays.
Yeah, the buyer needs to pay for it and get it done within the 14-day period or whatever period you negotiate. Does that make sense?
Hey, while we're on this topic, I've got one right now. We originally had a May 5th close date. There's going to be some foundation repair being done on the 4th and 5th. So we're probably going to close, maybe like the 7th or 8th. Well, depending on, I don't even know, the 8th might be a Saturday. Anyways, we'll close a few days late, and everybody has agreed to that. But we have requested multiple times from the seller's agent, who's a broker, the septic inspection and receipts, because I know that they had it inspected and some repairs needed to be done on the distribution box.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like 4 or 5 days, and the guy still hasn't gotten me anything because he says he's waiting on receipts. I mean, is that something I need to be concerned about, that, you know, the closer we get to May without seeing that information?
Yeah, you got to push them. I mean, you want to get it because if it comes back and then there are problems, they take a lot of time to get. You know, a lot of times these septic people are booked weeks out, weeks and weeks. So the sooner you get it, the better.
Yeah. Well, he's had it. He's already had it
Yeah, it's already been done.
inspected and repaired, but
Yeah.
by the very least they could send me the report. I mean, I know that we don't own the report. I know the sellers do, but like, don't we have a right to see the report?
Absolutely. If you've asked,
Especially if there were defects that needed to be repaired.
yes, yep. If you've done the if you've asked them for that, a clean septic report, then they owe that to you.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. All right, sounds good. Ben, you got a Ben talk for us?
Yes, are you there? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome.
I love how we're like, we can hear you today. Yay.
Sorry, hopefully that will go away over time. So today's quote is, for every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. For every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. The major accomplishments in life begin with the mastery of small, consistent disciplines. Would you agree? Major accomplishments, major success begins with mastering the small, consistent disciplines. Good example that just happened to come up this morning. Betsy Klein was trying to call me and my phone was off. And so then I see Hangouts, she's asking people, where's Ben? How come Ben's phone is off and all this stuff? And so I called her and I explained that in the morning, it's kind of like me and God time. It's devotion, it's prayer, it's mind dumping. This morning, I woke up and I'm praying and thinking about this quote that I found last night and thinking about what I was going to say. And then God kind of started to pour into me. So I had to come write all that down of some examples and things I want to talk about. And I have my phone on airplane mode on purpose when I sleep, and I don't take it off airplane mode until I'm ready to work. Because what happens is you take it off and Hangouts start going crazy, and notifications and your phone's buzzing and missed calls and all this stuff pops up. And before you know it, you're completely distracted from where you wanted to go, and it messes with your discipline. So that's just an example. There's other great examples of discipline. You think of Michael Jordan, who most of you know him. I think probably the greatest basketball player in the history of basketball, was cut. He didn't make it when he tried out for this first year in basketball. He didn't make it. And so as the story goes, that summer he practiced diligently, consistently, daily for I don't know how many days and nights during the summer until where he got back and made the team. You've heard of Stephen King, who's written a few books. He is disciplined to write 10 pages a day, every day. Holidays, birthdays, doesn't matter. He's disciplined to write 10 pages a day. And then you think of Elon Musk. Heard a story about Elon Musk where there was a time where he was trying to really push himself and be successful and get businesses going. For a couple of years, it says that he only lived off of $1 a day to eat. He only would spend $1 a day on food because he wanted to discipline himself not to work for food, but to work for his passion, his goals, his success, and not to receive money so that he could go buy more food. For every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. But the problem is, I feel like maybe this is just me, but I want the rewards. I want the rewards before the effort. I want the benefits package, if you will, before doing any of the work. I mean, raise your hand, be honest here. We're all friends here. Raise your hand if you've ever thought this. If I could just get my commission before the showings, before the staging, before the negotiating, before the contract writing, before the counseling, before the late night phone calls, before all of that stuff, if I could just get my commission before all that stuff, then my job would be that much easier. It'd be so much easier if I could just get the commission before I do all the work, right? Am I the only one that's thought that, that's had that thought that I wish I could get paid on the front end instead of after I do all the work a week later? That's just reality. That's where a lot of us are. But on this planet, there's a law that our Creator designed, and that is you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow, right? It's not the other way around. You don't sow and then, or you don't reap and then sow. You have to sow before you can reap. And if you think that that's not fair, if you think it should be the other way around, then there's only one thing you can do. You can start your own planet. That's it. But on this planet, the law is in place. The Creator designed it in the way that you only reap if you sow. That's just the way it is. Now, I love the rewards. I love the blessings. God has been good to me. He's blessed me with a lot of things. And I love all that. And I enjoy the benefits of His creation. You know, no time is it more relevant to enjoy and be in awe of God's creation and look at the sky and the trees and things that you didn't really notice before because you actually got more time to take a walk and spend time outdoors with nature, and you can just be in awe of His creation. But lately, I was talking to Daniel about this yesterday. Lately, I've realized, if I'm honest, this is just me, that I'm more in love with the creation than the Creator. More in love with the creation and all the benefits and everything that God does for us than God Himself, than the Creator. And so I'm asking myself, what if I was homeless, no real estate career, no family, no nice house in Brandon Mill with the walking trails, no food to eat, no Tesla? Would God be enough? Would the Creator be enough without all the creation? Would God be enough without all the blessings and the benefits? Would God be enough? The rewards of this business are great, but let's be careful not to put the rewards above the rewarder. The Bible says He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. That word diligently is very important. Diligent, consistent, disciplined, persistent. Those are the key. For every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. It's little things, little disciplined things, little disciplined steps, consistently done every day that lead to multiple rewards. I mean, beyond what we can even fathom or imagine, God wants to bless us with and do in our life and in our business. But it takes small, little disciplined efforts in order to receive the multiple rewards. All right?
Nice. Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Want to hear from you guys. Give me some good things that have happened this week. What you guys got? Where's Betsy? You got a deal?
Betsy put a deal under contract. Yeah.
Woo!
Good job, Betsy.
Thank you very much, ladies.
That's awesome. And you've been working with him for a few months. What do you say, Taylor?
I said I am just so proud of her.
I am too. It's awesome.
Awesome.
Taylor moved into a new house. Are you there now?
I am.
Oh my gosh, where's your new house, Taylor?
It's in the town of Goochland.
The small town of Goochland?
Pulling everybody in here.
We're a Goochlander now. I love it. Welcome to the
You're a
family.
convert.
Elena put 2 homes under contract last week. Does that count?
Yeah, that's awesome.
She's a baller.
Killing it.
Rocking it.
Does that count?
I
Does that
think,
count? It
I
counts.
think Elena endured the most exciting inspection I've ever heard of yesterday.
No words.
That was like
There-
the best. I'm with Mike and Martha right now, and they talked about you this morning. She was like, "Have you met Elaine?" I was like, "Yes." Or
that
Elena.
is the funniest thing
What did you say about me?
She
in
just
the
said you're
world.
great. She said you're
Oh.
great.
I can't even.
Oh.
I cannot even. That was awesome.
I was flabbergasted.
You
I
can,
can't
can
remember the last time I
Daniel?
used the word
Can she tell them
flabbergasted.
what happened? It's so funny.
Huh? Yeah, real
Did she
quick.
tell
What
what
happened?
happened?
30 seconds.
So long
No?
story
Okay,
short, the house was supposedly empty. Owners were supposedly in another state. The kid came over and was like, "Oh, mom and dad are gone." Had a rager at the house. There was food out, like it smelled bad. He and his friend were passed out in the home during the inspection.
That's amazing.
One was in a bed, and the other was on the couch, yeah, they were like they were snoring. So like Martha's calling me, and because I'm sitting in my car trying to keep like not as many people in their home because they're still there and they work in a hospital. And she's like, so there's someone asleep. Someone like, you've got to be kidding me. Call the agent. The agent's like, oh, that must be the kid. Please keep doing the inspection. I'm like, listen, I don't want these people to like wake up and then realize that there's people that they don't know in their home. And they never did, though. It's in the fridge. They never did wake up.
They never woke up.
That's the best story I've ever heard.
Brad said I went over my 30 seconds, but I tried.
You know they had been drinking a lot if they didn't wake up through a home inspection.
It was also noon, guys. Like it wasn't 8 a.m. It was noon, and they
Sunday
were
rager. Sunday
they
fun
were there
day.
for an hour and a half. So an hour and a half they didn't wake up. I also knocked on the door several times, rang the doorbell, and like said hello in the beginning because I was super confused as to why there were cars in the driveway. And the agent was like, no, that's just their cars that they haven't brought to Florida yet. I'm like, okay. And lo and behold, there were people in the house.
That's crazy.
Fun times.
Awesome.
Real fun. Second inspection ever. And I'm like, I look at Mike, I was like, is this like normal? Like, has this happened before? And he starts laughing. And from what I know of them, he's not like a genuinely like, I don't know. He doesn't seem to find
He's stoic.
funny. Yeah, there we go. And he was like, maybe once ever. And I'm like, oh, good, thanks.
Yeah. It's rare. I walked in on a showing. This old lady, like 80 something years old, was sleeping in a bed, and I woke her up. It was very awkward. I called the agent and I was like, dude, you confirmed the showing? He's like, I know. I was like, there's a lady sleeping there. He's like, I know. I'm like,
He's like, yeah, I
dude,
left her there. Just
that's jacked
I
up.
left her there.
I don't understand. Yeah, I called Daniel and I was like, Daniel, what is happening right now? And he just starts laughing his butt off. Oh, that's funny. I was like, I am concerned.
That's actually hilarious.
It was a great start to my day.
Yeah, that definitely kept me going yesterday too. It's pretty funny. Thank you.
I think my favorite part is when Mike puts on his suit and he looks like he works in a factory. Like Willy Wonka. Yeah, like Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory. He just changed. And I'm like, ah.
I think it looks like Breaking Bad.
Oh, yes. That's that's better. I changed
That's
my mind.
very accurate, Rachel.
Breaking Bad. Yep. I changed my answer.
Cool. Help!
She's tied a tow truck string to her arm. Kennedy did.
She said, help. All right. Cool. All right. That sounds good. I love the good news and the
Daniel, why don't you tell us what's good? I mean, you know what everybody's doing. You tell us what's going on. We don't know.
Well, I mean, when it comes to deals, I mean, you guys are doing well. I mean, Rachel Stagg just put one under contract for 600.
Yeah. Woo!
You know, Sarah's setting appointments despite quarantine. The custom life group is crushing it. It's exciting. Everybody's really. I mean, it's stuff is still happening. It's really amazing. I mean, we've got 20 set to close next month.
That's awesome.
Which is very good. Either way, I mean, but especially during this pandemic thing, I mean, it's pretty exciting. So I think that it'll just continue to grow as we, consumer confidence, starts to increase and people start to be less scared to go outside, hearing more stories. I think it's only going to grow. So yeah, I mean, everybody's doing really well. I mean, Debbie's crushing the transactions and keeping us all together and on point. I mean, there's a million things I could talk about, but yeah, I mean, I do see a lot of stuff. Nance, you sold a house in like a day, 2 days. It had like 25 showings, I think, right?
Yeah.
Fork. It was insane. You had to turn a bunch of people down because you
should totally do a video about that, Rachel. How much interest you had and how quickly it sold.
Yep. Definitely.
I feel like terrible for my other listing who gets nothing.
Yeah. Then they see your video. They're like, wait a second.
They already called me once. They're like, you said
oh
the
my
market
gosh,
was hot, and now I'm not getting any showings. Why am I not getting any showings? Your other showings are. I'm like, oh.
Rachel, how many offers did it have?
I had 7, but I mean, I cut it off on I didn't show any on Saturday.
It was still, the showings are still coming in. We were turning them down.
Yeah, she didn't even want to show her house at all on Friday. She only showed it Wednesday night and Thursday during the day, and that's it.
How much over asking price did it sell for?
9,000, I think, but it was there was closing costs built into that. It was every
$3,000, $4,000 over, right?
Yeah, and it was
that's
as
awesome. That's awesome.
I think the pricing of the house was crucial.
Oh, definitely.
Priced to sell.
Yep. And it generated interest, and then she got the as is. So cool. Alrighty, I love it. Okay, so Mr. Cory Nichols, for those of you guys that don't know him, actually, let me let Katarina introduce him. They've known each other longer and can do a better introduction there. And then Cory will share a little bit about some thoughts he has for real estate agents particularly. But go ahead, Kat.
So Cory Nichols is my work husband. I don't know what happens to our relationship when we are on a pandemic, but
it's a long distance relationship right now.
Long distance right now, right, Kyla? But Tyler and I have highly valued Cory's opinions and guidance for a very long time. He is the best financial advisor you can get and has created a company where he can give really holistic, real, personalized guidance to each of his clients. So he is not just a financial advisor, but also a financial coach who looks at your specific, I know that's a rabbit, who looks at your specific situation and just is beyond helpful. So Tyler and I rely on him a lot, and I know whatever he's going to share is going to be super helpful for you guys.
Well, thank you, Kat. That was very kind of you. So there's no reason, like, you guys can tell why I keep Kat so close to me, because she's a huge fan and a huge supporter. And I can't express in words how appreciative I am of her support. And also, I will say that the admiration is 100% mutual. Like, the way that I feel about Kat and what she does and who she is as a person is absolutely of the highest level. So so just to build a little bit on what Kat said, right? I think I spent a couple of years in kind of more a traditional financial advising role. And one of the things that I walked away with from there is, typical financial advisors are driven mostly from some sort of sales perspective, right? So there's either this desire or need to sell you an insurance product, whether that be an annuity or life insurance or whatever it is, or to manage your investments, right? Like I need you to have some wealth and I need to bring that in. And what I was finding was, look, I'm 33. I've got 3 young kids now. And so a lot of my, social circle was people who were at a stage where life insurance was a relevant conversation because they were having a new family. But they were also saying, hey, Cory, I've got a lot of other concerns. I've got student loans, and what do I do there? And I'm trying to build an emergency fund. How do I go about doing that? I want to save to buy a home. How do I do that? And so I just wanted to create a business where I could work with clients on whatever it was that was relevant to them in life in that moment. And the compensation didn't have to be tied towards pushing some sort of product to them. And so that's why I created Yes Life Financial and this $25 a month subscription that I operate under. But specific to today, I want to talk about a couple of things that are really unique, I think, to you all as realtors and also as business owners. And the first thing is, and it's so fitting, but Ben, one of the things that I was going to say today, which is very similar to your quote, but a little bit different, which is you don't have to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. It really does come down to those daily disciplines that Ben talked about, and the value of those over time, the compounding effect of those is enormous. And so really today, I want to talk more about the basics of financial principles, right? And how to build financial wealth. And again, it's not about hitting huge home runs. It's about at-bats and hitting a lot of singles. But first and foremost, I think today, I look at this for my business, and I think it's true, but I think it's true for you guys as well. There is an immense opportunity for all of you from a business perspective that probably hasn't existed in the real estate market in probably close to a decade. And the reality is, maybe, and this is mostly my information coming from watching Kat's videos, but hey, look, I think there's still a lot of demand for houses, but it looks like, based on what Kat's told me, is that the supply side, right, is a little bit down. And this is a not necessarily an easy time to be in any business, but I think real estate also is not necessarily the easiest time to be here. But what that means is that adage that everybody's, got their real estate license, right? John Smith down the road, his aunt is a real estate agent, and I'm going to list with her, or whatever it is. Those people that are hobbyists at this, they kind of get washed out by, tough times. And what that means is that there's an opportunity for those of you who treat this as a true profession and refine your craft during these times to have huge upside potential on the back end of this. Okay. So I think first and foremost, I would just say you guys all have a huge opportunity right now. So then the second thing is more on the basics from a financial perspective. And I think, bless you, Kat, I would focus on some things that are more kind of core. Okay. So the first thing is just looking at your data. If you don't have good control over what your expenses are today, and that's both for your household and for your business, that's where I would start. And I'm not a huge fan of budgeting, and so I wouldn't encourage anybody to go create a budget because I think it lives in a hypothetical world. Instead, I would encourage you to do an expense tracker. Really look back at your prior 3 months, every single transaction and dollar you've spent over those 3 months. Where did it go? And that'll give you a lot better of an idea of where you're spending your money and potentially where you're overspending your money. And if you need like a spreadsheet to be able to do that, feel free to send me a text or an email. Kat's got all my information, and I can send you out like a Google sheet to be able to do this exercise for you. Okay. The second thing is this idea of willpower, right? And so I think Ben even kind of referenced this a little bit in his segment, but you have a finite resource in willpower. Like, you cannot just wake up every day and go like, I'm just going to convince myself to get out of bed, and I'm going to convince myself to work out, and then I'm going to convince myself to dial and to prospect, and convince myself to do savings, and convince myself to put money aside for taxes, and convince myself to be a good spouse, and convince myself to be a good parent. Like, at some point those things break down because you just don't have enough willpower. And so you should not be using any of your willpower to succeed financially. Okay, you should really try to spend a dedicated amount of time right now to create some habits that then will just do it automatically going forward. So real actionable, and you can take a note here. I would download an app called Capital from the App Store. So it's QAPITAL. And if you download Capital, I will say it does cost $3 a month, but it's well worth it. And I would set up 2 different, what they call rules inside of Capital. So the first one is called the freelance rule. And what this does is you can actually set it so that anytime you have a deposit into your bank account, above a certain threshold, it'll automatically move a percentage of money over. Okay. So one of the things that you struggle with as a real estate agent is, hey, I don't have a 9 to 5 where I get paid every other Friday, a fixed amount. And I have an employer who pulls out money for my taxes and pulls out money for 401k and retirement. Okay. Well, that's a luxury for a W-2 employee that you don't necessarily have as a real estate agent. So we want to kind of create the same environment for you as a real estate agent. So this freelance rule will allow you to pull out a specific amount, set it aside in a savings account for taxes. Okay. So kind of a ground rule, maybe 15%. Daniel, you probably know more about what the actual tax rate is for a real estate agent based on expenses and things like that. Obviously, it's going to change based on kind of where you are in your career, but 15% probably a decent starting point, at least for setting aside for taxes. Okay. The second thing that I would set up is what's called the payday rule. It's the exact same thing, except for that this is going to be more retirement focused. So again, if you have a W-2 and your employer offers you a 401k or something equivalent to that, you may, have 5% of your money withheld specifically to go into your 401k. And I will say that when I talk to people, right, who have struggled with savings historically, they typically are very successful at saving to a 401k. And if I ask them why, it's because I never have to do anything and I never see the money. Okay. Again, it goes back to this idea of willpower. So I would encourage you to do the exact same thing. Create an environment where you can be successful. Set up the payday rule so that 5% of your income goes into an investment account through capital every time you get a check, in excess of $1,000. Okay. So you're kind of creating this environment where you have the same thing that a W-2 employee would have, where they do it automatically, but for you as a freelancer. Okay. Anybody have any questions about kind of that one little thing?
What was again the name of the app?
The app is called Capital, and I can type it into.
Yeah, if you put in the chat or something, maybe.
Yep.
So that app, I'm trying to make sure I understood you correctly because I get a little confused with the question. So, like my husband right now, he's a personal trainer, so he works for a company, but also kind of works for himself.
Yep.
And they don't have any type of 401k opportunities. Or they do, but it's just not good. So we've been trying to figure out what we can do to set him up something similar. So you're saying you can do that through this app?
Yeah, you can do it for anything. So the way the app works, you'll download it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then you link your bank account. So whatever account. So you could link, if he's got a separate business account, you can link that account. If it's just his personal checking account, he can link that. I would probably link anywhere that the direct deposit's going into, okay? So whatever his employer is direct depositing into, I would link that account. And then what it does is it actually just runs this computer algorithm in the background to look for transactions, okay? And then based on the transactions that come through, it executes these rules, okay? So you're going to have to create a goal, which is what you're saving for, and then you'll set up the rules. And so the rules that I like are these ones that are the freelance and the payday, okay? So the freelance basically just says, anytime I get a transaction in excess of X amount, and you get to set what that amount is, okay? For real estate agents, I'd probably say anything above 1,000. And the reason is you don't want it to like withhold 15% when you got a check from your mom and dad for your birthday, right? And so if your mom and dad are giving you checks in excess of $1,000 for your birthday, congratulations. Like, I'm very happy for you. But like for most people, that's not the case, right? So $1,000 kind of gets you to the point where you're not going to be saving money for taxes out of, gifts and things like that. All right. And so anytime a transaction comes into your bank account that's $1,000 or more, it's automatically going to take 15% of that amount and put it over into this tax goal. Okay. And then same thing on the retirement side. So inside of Capital, you can create two different types of goals. You can create a savings goal, which is going to be into a savings account, which is going to be a very small interest rate. Okay. And then the other type of goal is going to be a invest goal, which this is going to actually invest in mutual funds and stocks. Okay. So you're going to have more growth associated with it. Now, do keep in mind that this is a taxable account. So this is not saving into an account that's like an IRA, an individual retirement account that has special tax treatment. Okay. But that account will still at least be growing based on, investment growth. Okay. And so that payday where it's going to save 5% out of each paycheck into a goal, you want to put that into an investment account so that money is growing long term. Okay. So the tax goal, that's more short term. The retirement goal is more of a long term, so it would go into invest. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
So then the other thing that I would say is really two things specifically. right? We talked about how to be extraordinary, which means you don't have to do extraordinary things. You just have to be consistent over time. The two other things. So one, I would create a vision for your life, right? This is just the idea of like creating your goals for life. And if you're not real clear about where you want to be or what you want life to look at, it's really hard to create financial goals and then to drive towards the financial success, right? So the exercise that I really like to do is to create a 5-year vision statement. And this really is, what is your exact day 5 years in the future, right? So for me, like it talks about how I wake up and what do I do for breakfast with the kids and when do I leave for the office? And when I arrive at the office, what does my team look like? And what does my office look like? And what does my schedule look like for the day? And when I leave the office, where do I go? And where do I arrive home to? And what do we do as a family in the evenings, right? And so the more kind of specific and descriptive you can be here, the better. And then what I like to do is take that vision statement and create what I refer to as a reverse budget. So most people think of a budget as here's how much money I have coming in and here's where my expenses go. A reverse budget says if I was living the life of my dreams today, what are all the things that I would want to be putting money towards, right? So this includes saving for taxes because you do have to pay those, unfortunately. It includes, things like long-term retirement savings, but it also includes everything that you want, right? So for Ben, that Tesla is on the reverse budget, right? And, for my wife, a cleaning person once a week is on the budget, right? So like whatever those things are that you want, you put them all in the budget and eventually you come up with this ultimate number. If I want to be able to live the life of my dreams, my wildest dreams, it means that I have to generate $12,000 a month of income or whatever the number is. Doesn't really matter, right? But you come up with what that number is. And now we start to work towards how you can go about doing that because you're a business owner. You're not a W-2 employee who's at the mercy of your employer giving you a raise. If you want it, you can be like Kat, and I only speak of Kat because I know her, but she gets up every morning with this just burning desire to be grossly successful, and she will do whatever it takes to get there, right? And you can do the exact same thing to create that life of your dreams, all right? Finally, this is a little bit of a selfish thing, but look, I don't normally recommend people sell their house for sale by owner. I don't normally recommend that people navigate their financial lives without the help of a professional, right? So whether it's me, whether it's somebody else, it doesn't really matter to me, right? I would encourage you to engage with somebody who can help you with more strategic things, right? The things that I didn't get into today are things like SEP IRA, long-term retirement savings. There's a lot of opportunities that you have as a self-employed individual that people who are W-2 do not have. It's just too much to get into and it's too kind of specific for today's call, but I would encourage you to talk to somebody. The two things that I would look out for and that the questions I would ask for any financial advisor, number one is how do you get paid? Just understand how they get paid. There's not necessarily a right or wrong answer here, but you just want to make sure that you understand how they're being compensated, okay? And number two is, are you a fiduciary? All that means is they're going to provide advice that's in your best interest, okay? Anybody have any other questions for me? So by the way, if you want some free resources, so Daniel's been generous enough to work with me. So we've got a whole suite of free things that we can send you. So Daniel, I don't know what the best way to do that is, but I have an app that's like a financial planning app that I can send you a free version of the software of. I've got an income tracker that can specifically track your income and expenses for your business and give you a P&L. And I've got the reverse budget tool that I can also send you. So all of those
email it
are
to me and
available.
I'll send it out to everybody.
And then I've got a quick PDF that summarizes the stuff we talked about today. So I'll send that all to Daniel and he can get it sent out to everybody.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. I really do think this is an area that we as real estate agents are, need help in as an industry in general, just financial planning and retirement investments. It's so common. It's a common thing to be said in this industry that, realtors don't have any retirement planning. Of course, we don't have 401ks because we're 1099 contractors. And, so it's not set up automatically for people. And what I've learned in my life, and, it took me a while to learn it, but the more I can set up in my life automatically, like you were alluding to, the better my outcome is. If I have to physically write a check and send it over to, a retirement account or put it in stocks, like it's just not going to get done. But when it happens automatically the first of the month, or I think it's so cool that you have access to this app, or this app exists, that as soon as you get a certain amount of money, a percent goes right, because you don't have to think about it. And then you learn to live off of what you have left over. And then before you know it, it's this amazing thing. You look at it over time, 6 months, a couple years, and you're like, wow, I've saved this money and I didn't even notice it was gone, But it's, definitely, I think everybody should get together with somebody like Cory. The biggest thing is accountability. I mean, it's like, just having somebody to give you direction and say, are you doing the things that you want to do financially? Are you preparing for the life that you want to have financially? All this stuff. And it's so vitally important. So I guess can they just reach out to you on Facebook or?
Yeah, so Instagram is probably the best place. So it's just Cory__Nichols. And then certainly Katarina, who is the greatest person in the world, can put you in contact with me. And that way she makes sure that she gets her referral bonus as well for sending clients my direction. The one last thing that I will add, by the way, Daniel, so even though you don't have a 401k as a real estate agent, because you're a 1099 independent contractor, you do have this great ability, which is called a SEP IRA. So it's a self-employed pension, and it's got significantly higher contribution limits, and it's tax deductible, right? So the idea is, if you're in a 401k, you can contribute $19,000 to that account today, right? That's the maximum for a W-2 employee. For you guys with a SEP IRA, you can contribute up to 25% of your income to a maximum of $57,000, which is 100% tax deductible. Okay. So if you think about it, if you're generating, roughly speaking, $200,000 of revenue through the business, you'd be allowed to contribute $50,000 to a SEP IRA, which would reduce your taxable income down to $150,000, saving you probably at least, $10,000 or $15,000 in income taxes. So there's for those of you who are going to drive to the ultimate level of success and generate, good source of income from real estate, there's a huge opportunity from a long-term savings perspective.
Yeah.
I have one question. If I already have a 401k because I just recently stopped working corporate, could I roll money from that 401k into one of these accounts so that I could keep building off of it now as a self-employed?
Yep. So you can roll it into an individual IRA and you continue to make contributions to it. So you're not going to be able to make contributions to your 401k because you're not a participant in the plan anymore from being employed, but you can roll that over into an individual IRA. Okay. Which would just be with somebody like me outside of that. And then you can continue to make ongoing contributions to that account.
Awesome. Yeah. Because I've been meaning to figure out what I need to do with that. Because right now it's just kind of sitting there and not growing at all.
Yeah. Feel free to send me an email. We can talk about it. But you won't be able to contribute $19,000 anymore because it's not a 401k. For an IRA, you're able to contribute $6,000 annually. So there is a lower contribution limit, but we can talk about that.
So she can't roll that 401 into a SEP?
So she could. She's going to still make new contributions as a SEP IRA contribution as opposed to an individual IRA.
But she could put more in it, right? If it's a SEP, right?
Correct. So the only downside of the SEP, again, and this is Elaine, I don't know of your information. You're limited to 25% of your income in a SEP IRA. So depending on where income is, your limit would actually be less in a SEP than it would be in a traditional IRA. So a traditional IRA, you're going to be allowed to contribute $6,000 regardless of income, right? Whereas with something like a SEP IRA, you are limited to 25% of the revenue.
I'll reach out to you. We'll probably need to set an appointment with you and talk about, because with this transition between his work and my new work, and then that money, like we definitely need to figure out the best places to put them and all that.
Yeah, feel free to. There's actually a link on my website. You can feel free to schedule something and we can chat.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions for Cory?
Just a quick piece of advice. You don't want shingles. My family is dealing with that right now.
Ooh.
I'm a geriatric, apparently. I've gotten shingles for the second time in the past 5 years.
Oh, no.
So, and now I can't hold my 6-week-old son until this goes away. So my wife is thrilled.
Cory, I've had it 4 times. I'm 43 years old.
Rachel, so you and I, we're geriatric together.
Yeah, the first time I got it, I was 34 years old. I don't know why.
I'll be 34 next month, and this was my second time. I had it in 2016 at the age of 30.
Welcome. I don't know why.
Rachel, did you get the vaccine?
No, I've never got it because I was afraid that, like, what if it gets worse if I get it? You know, I don't know. They said I should get it, but I never got it.
They told me the other day when I got diagnosed, they were like, typically we only recommend this for people over the age of 50, but we'll recommend it for you.
Yeah, I need it too. I need
Makes
it. I
me
haven't
feel real
gotten
good
it.
about myself.
Just welcome. It's fine.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having me, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Cory.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah.